Hello and welcome to Biz Daily. I'm Jon Jordan. So the big news today is all about Apple TV. So Apple has announced a new Apple TV, which is a little bit kind of as expected. So it's the same kind of design and shape as the old Apple TV, but some significant differences. So the main difference is it has an App Store now. So that kind of brings it into line with what we've seen for iPhone and iPad, and that will also be reflected in the sense that it supports. There's a new OS called TVOS, and that kind of supports Game Center. So that's kind of interesting for game developers that now they can do a universal app that supports iPhone, iPad, and Apple TV, and that's really interesting in terms of how people can play games and interact with games. Because you can play your games, say play a game on an iPhone, come back home, and then start playing it on the TV. Now, will people do that a lot? Kind of hard to say. Obviously, it's not out yet. Not out until October, the Apple TV, but I think it does make it interesting from a gameplay point of view, in the sense that you won't be perhaps treating your Apple TV as primarily as a gaming platform, but if you have the opportunity, so of an evening or of a weekend, maybe not every weekend, or even for particular games that you want to play on a big screen, you can do that, and you can kind of get the advantage of playing on a big screen. But equally, if you want to, and someone else wants to watch the TV, you can go back and just play it on your iPhone or iPad. So that's kind of quite a nice, expansive kind of option if you want to. Obviously, the big problem we've kind of generally had with smart TVs and gaming is controls. So the Apple TV comes with a new remote control. It's not designed for gaming at all, overtly, but it is interesting that it is like a Wii remote. So it has an accelerometer, and it has a gyroscope. So one of the games that was shown was from Harmonix, the US developer who does lots of music games, Guitar Hero. And they had a game called Beat Sports, and that was very much like a Wii Sports type game. They were showing like a baseball element set to music, like a rhythm part to it, and the person was playing, kind of swinging the remote for the Apple TV to hit the ball. So you can kind of see that kind of Wii Sport mini game, kind of all the family having a go. That would work kind of well on Apple TV, and obviously wouldn't really work on. So you could do it on an iPhone as well, but wouldn't really work so well. I guess the interesting thing will be, will game developers kind of make not exclusive games for Apple TV, but games that work really well on Apple TV and not quite so well on other platforms, or will they assume that people will generally be playing on iPhones and iPads, and maybe just using the bigger screen size on occasions? Yeah, another kind of game that was shown was Crossy Road. So there's going to be a new version, multiplayer version of Crossy Road. It uses obviously the bigger screen, and you can use your iPhone to control that, so two players there working cooperatively, or probably more competitively, to push each other into the traffic and get the high score. So that was pretty neat, and in general it was kind of interesting that across the whole press conference, Apple had a lot more game developers than they have had in the past, who none of them were particularly, you wouldn't say massively high profile. There were quite a few indies really, but it was kind of a good mix of kind of types of games, and kind of showing a bit more kind of Apple love for games than perhaps we've seen in the past. The other thing to say about Apple TV is pricing wise, it's maybe a bit more expensive again than people hoped. It's $150 for the entry level one, $200 for the 64 gigabyte version. That makes it a bit less of an impulse buy than perhaps and the current version is still around actually. So the non-App Store version is still around for under $100. So it's interesting Apple's not phased that out. So yeah, it's kind of, I guess, less radical a proposal than perhaps kind of gamers or game developers would have thought. Apple is certainly not positioning the Apple TV as a gaming platform. Obviously it does the usual kind of TV streaming, and there's lots of things about how apps would kind of interact with TV. So gaming part of it, but probably not to the fore, unless kind of people start using the Apple TVs a lot for gaming. We have to wait and see. Partly that's due to developers, the kind of games they decide to make for Apple TV. So yeah, certainly interesting stuff. We'll get kind of a better view, I guess, as obviously when it comes out and people start using it over the holiday period. So we'll keep our eyes on it and see what happens then. Come back tomorrow and see what the news is then. See you then.